All right, let's just wait for persons to join. In the meantime, to our studies. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم أخرجنا من الظلمات النار وأكرمنا بالفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. All please take us out of the darkness of doubt and favor us with the light of comprehension. All open to us the doors of your mercy and pour for us the doors, the treasure of your knowledge by your mercy, O the most merciful of the merciful ones. All right, so last week we began the class of the passion of desire. All right, this week, inshallah, we're going to continue that because we only did five of the diseases. So we're going to look at the next five today and complete the diseases of Hawzatul Hidayat. Hawzatul Hidayat. There is Shahawiyah, not Shahawiyah. Shahawiyah. Yes. Internet is. What do you about? I don't understand why you put it back inside. You hear me on Zoom? Sorry. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
You hear me, right?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so today we continue the power of desire or Hawzatul Hidayat, and we begin with the first of them, which is miserliness. So last time we stopped at greed, which was hirs. We stopped at the first one, which was greed, and that was hirs. Now we continue on to miserliness, which is bukhul in Arabic. It's bukhul. So in the study of akhlaq, miserliness is defined as being tight-handed. Parsimonious, that is just a really big long word for it, but it is being tight-handed, you're tight-fisted, you're stingy, basically, where one should be generous. So it's not just completely not giving, but understanding the context of situation. Because in Islam, it's not necessary that you have to just give every time somebody asks you, or withhold every time you believe you should withhold. It is according to the situation and the appropriateness of the situation. So here it says, where you should be generous, you are tight-handed, as opposed to the opposite, which is where you are just given without care, right? So instead of being frugal, you just give in because you feel like, okay, I have it, or this person needs it, I'm just give, I'm just spend, you know? So Islam is about the middle part. So here, it is where you are. It is necessary to be withholding your wealth, that you withhold it. However, the miser is the person who they are so in love with the world that they don't want to part with it. So they find all the different ways. Hey, give us a little thing now, give us a charity here. Look, boy, pressure, yes. Pain and sorrow thing. Once that story is, they'll give you that kind of habit. You understand? but they're just seeing it diminishing once they give it to you or once they let go of that money. The middle part between these two is saqd. This is being generous when generosity is called for, which is what Islam says. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Alladhina yabkhaluna wa ya'muruna an-nas bil bukhl wa yaktumuna ma atahumullah. So it is like those who hoard their wealth, or they are greedy, they're enjoying greediness upon others, and they hide which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon them out of his bounty. So it's important to understand this point, right? Share my screen. The screen is being shared. You're not seeing the screen on this on the Zoom?
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Yeah, it's being shared. Brother Dowd, I don't know if you wanna swipe across on your if you're on your phone, just swipe left.
Yeah, I seen it now.
All right. Cool.
Thanks.
So one of the important part of this is that it's not just about hoarding wealth and all of that to identify that you're hoarding wealth. What is the important part here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned? He says, well, two things. The first of them is that what you are withholding is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. You holding it back like it was you who had it and you earn it and you pull it out of somewhere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that. So you are hoarding the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you out of his bounty. Min fadli. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something serious. He says, وَأَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. And for the disbelievers, we have prepared a shameful punishment. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning disbelievers and kafirun here after mentioning about those who hoard wealth and those who are enjoying greed upon others? According to the scholars and the interpreters of the Quran, they say that this hoarding of wealth as well as greed is a type of disbelief. It is that when you speak about kafirun or the kafir is somebody who hides the truth. They conceal the truth. So you reject it. You know what's the truth, but you reject it or you hide it. Here somebody knows that this wealth is for something, but they're holding it back. They know that they shouldn't be holding it back. They know that they shouldn't be greedy, but they're still holding it back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has likened it to kufr, disbelief. He says, وَأَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. So for the disbelievers, we have prepared a shameful punishment. Surah Furqan. What is it that the balances that we mentioned in the middle part? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يَسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. That those who, they are neither, when they are given, they are neither wasteful or they are neither miserly when spending, but they balance between these two. These are those who are successful, basically. So the second of the diseases, and you might think is, you might ask, well, the diseases of the heart are things that, they are the things that are inside and that are hidden, and they manifest themselves into sin. So it's a condition of the soul, and then manifests itself in behavior. So you say, well, illegitimate earning is something that you do. You go out and you take money over. But the thing is, it's a mentality. It comes from inside that, okay, so for example, somebody might be somebody who earns halal means all the time. But in one situation, they still a waiver, it thinks hard, and it takes something that they don't supposed to take. It's a sin, but it's a one-time thing. But in their heart, they might repent and say, well, okay, I start for that, I should not take it, whatever. But the person who their vice, the disease of their soul is that they attracted or they inclined to illegitimate earning. That is what this is speaking about. That it doesn't matter. You just only hustle and it don't matter where you get it from. You're just looking for it and that is it. You don't care. This is what it's speaking about here. This vice consists of amassing wealth in an illegitimate manner without caring to avoid harm and forbidden means of earning. This vice is caused by greed and love for the world and results in moral deterioration and loss of human dignity. So you don't care. You will steal something, you're dipping in whatever you're not supposed to dip in, you're taking from backhand, whatever, you're bribing. You're just moving around to try and get money by any means necessary. And that is a mentality. It's not a one-off thing. It's your whole mentality. It doesn't matter how you get it, once you get it. So there are three types of earnings in Islam, right? Just to go off on this topic a little bit. There are three types of earning. The earning which is purely halal, right? Legitimately acquired. So you get your money, alhamdulillah, it is pure, nothing wrong. You have the earning which is totally haram. So you know that you're not supposed to get like that, but you're going after it. And then you have earnings which is mixed with both halal and haram. So there are different effects of all of these different types of earnings on the soul. You get money by halal means, you're able to do something good with it. You get money by haram means, it becomes a harm for you and a harm to those who spend it on. The money which is mixed is much more complicated because you don't know which one coming from, so you don't know how much harm you're doing, how much good you're doing. But there are ways to get around this. This is the class for that. So in the Holy Quran, Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, to refrain from eating a single morsel of haram is nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the performance of 2,000 rakats of mustahab salat. So just trying to stay away from that haram. The Prophet peace be upon him says, on the day of judgment, there will be people with good deeds as heavy as the mountains of Tahama. In spite of this, they'll be ordered to be tossed into the hellfire. Because all of your money, no matter how much money you make, it was a legitimate means. It was haram. So you don't have much good. Yeah, oh, I think this, mashallah, key, thing, TikTok, yeah, key. When you try to do a judgment, you say, well, I did this, I did so and so. So and so, it's like dust. See it? Because it's haram means, haram earnings. So sometimes you see people, Muslims, they're doing things that people looking at them, yeah, mashallah, brother, anything. And when you get to know them better, you realize, well, this brother, even though he might be doing the charity and whatever, it has some things inside that you need to deal with because it's not making sense. But the thing is, the moment you get one piece of haram wealth and you mix it with the halal, you don't know which one is halal, which one is haram after that. Because let's say you get $5 and you invest in something. $5 haram, $10 is halal. You invest in something. That started growing out. Which part of that is the investment to be haram money and which part is halal money? What you're supposed to do now? How are you supposed to fix that as a Muslim? How do you fix that? How do you fix that? Charity. So you just give away charity and you fix it? Well, so if I someone selling drugs, right? I sell pure white, right? Bricks. I'm moving it, right? And at the same time, let's say I have a store that's selling tires. I have a tire shop, or I have let's say I have a grocery. And all the money that comes in, I just mix it. I put it in the same account or I have it and I'm using it. Right? After a while, I say, wait, boy, this thing ain't making no sense now. Let me try and stop that drugs thing. But it's years I doing it. So what's I supposed to do now? So okay, well, I don't know how much is drugs and how much is thing. I put the drugs money into the grocery and the grocery money into the drugs. Huh? How am I supposed to fix that? Carry that all start over? But some of it good, some of it have halal inside of it. All right. So according to fiqh in Islam, I'm using particularly Ayatollah Sistani's rulings in these instances here. I mean, it's the same, you'll find similar across the board, but in terms of the details here, it's from Ayatollah Sistani. What do you do when halal property gets mixed with haram property in Islam? How do you purify that? How do you wash that and purify it? How do you make sure that things are right? You have different scenarios. You have 5 different scenarios that can pop up in this case. You have halal property that get mixed up in such a way that it is not possible to identify which one is halal and which one is haram, right? That's 1. 2, you have halal property, it gets mixed up with the haram, and the person knows the quantity of the haram in it. So you know, okay, nah, well, that come from over, so this amount here, this 50,000 is from halal, that 40,000 is from haram and know exactly where it comes from, whatever. You know exactly what it is, although it mixed. You have halal property which gets mixed up with haram, and the person does not know the quantity. So the first one is that it's impossible to identify each from each other. Meaning that I have the money in my hand, I don't know where it came from. This third case is that you get money. This here is concerning khums, right? Particularly, right? This is concerning khums. The person receives money, and the person who they got the money from, they don't know which quantity is haram and which quantity is halal, right? So you know two parties here. One party has the money, and they say that the person who's concerned or the person who gave the money, they do not know which one is property and which one is haram, but they know who the owner of the money is, right? But they don't know which one is haram and halal. Then you have halal property, which comes into mix with haram. The quantity of the haram is known, but the person who has given the haram, you don't know who it is, right? So let's say it's a group of people give the money I get from a certain amount of sources, and you realize that, wait now, some of this money not from a halal source. But you don't know exactly who or where it came from. They can't identify who is the owner of the haram money. Oh God, I didn't put all the things for this next part. Anyway, we'll go for that, the last one. So the first one we'll go over because we'll see the different scenarios. So what does HH22 say about these scenarios? Because when you have money, why is it that I'm mentioning khums? Because one of the ways of purifying your money is by doing zakat. When you earn something, you have to pay zakat. Whether it is khums or whether it is just zakat on its own, you have to pay something on it. So khums is that you have a certain amount of money. When you reach your expenses and all of the debts and everything is paid, whatever is excess, you pay 1/5 of that. What if your money is mixed up? How do you pay khums on that? So this is the question here, right? So what does HH22 say? He says in the first case, if halal property gets mixed up in such a way that it's not possible to identify each from each other, and the owner of the haram property and its quantity are not known, and if it is also not known whether the quantity of haram property is more or less than the due khums, the person concerned should pay khums with the niyat of qurbat on the entire property. So your property is usually, your khums is usually paid on 1/5. What he is saying is paid on the entire property. Since they don't know how much or which one is the thing, paid on the entire property. So they're entitled to receive khums, and such properties whose owners are unknown, and after the payment of khums, the balance will become halal for him. So after paying you 1/5 on everything, the remainder will become halal for you. But that's in the case that you don't know. It's not that you yourself know. You say, well, let me pay 1/5 on all the dirty money that I have. I mix this up, so let me pay 1/5 on all my money, so it will be purified. That's not how it works. You don't know how much is haram, and you don't know the owner. They can't identify which is which. You pay khums on everything, 1/5 on everything. Next scenario: if the property gets mixed up with haram property, halal property with haram property, and the person concerned knows the quantity of the property that is haram, irrespective if it is more or less than it comes, but does not know its owner, he should give away that entire quantity as sadaqah on behalf of the owner. And the obligatory precaution is that he should also obtain permission from the mushtahid. So whatever you know is haram, give it away in charity one time. Don't even deal with no khums or nothing, not just give it away and deal with your property after that. Right? That's if you know how much is haram. So let's say, for example, somebody bring money, a number of people bring money for you. I know this man doing shipping, he's selling alcohol. I bring money for your alcohol and say you're paying khums on the alcohol, give that away on charity, right? Next scenario: if halal property gets mixed up with haram property and the person concerned does not know the quantity of the haram property but knows its owner, they should come to some understanding and agreement with each other and pay the owner a sum which will ensure that the amount due is paid up, has been paid up. In fact, if the person concerned knows that it was due to his own negligence that the mix-up occurred, then he should, as a precaution, pay more than what he feels might belong to the owner. So, if it's mixed up and you know the owner, right? But you don't know the quantity of the haram, you should come to an agreement with the person who gave the money, right? To ensure that they can pay the sum which needs to be paid, right? Make sure they come to an agreement, okay, this is how much was supposed to be paid, pay that money. Because we don't know how much of this is haram inside of here. If they know, if it is that the mix-up was due to negligence, that they did not know, then they have to pay more than what they think is the amount so that they can cover whatever is inside of it. Next, if a person pays khums on a property which is halal, mixed with haram parts, and learns later that the quantity of haram property was more than the khums, he should give the excess in sadaqah on behalf of the owner. So you paid the khums, and you realize it now it was more than how much I thought it was that I was supposed to give away, give the excess in sadaqah in charge. And lastly, if a person pays khums on a property which has been mixed up or gives some property as sadaqah on behalf of an unknown person, and if the owner turns up later as an obligatory precaution, he must reimburse him his part if he doesn't agree to take action. So the same action that he was supposed to take in this one up here in 1824, if he doesn't take the action, then you must reimburse him the money. All right, take back your money. I don't know nothing to do with that. All right, you do what you have to do with that. Next, and lastly, if a halal property mixes up with the haram property and the quantity of haram property is known, and the person concerned knows the owner of the group is of one group but can't identify him, he should inform all of them. If one of them claims while others do not, or shows no interest, he should hand over to the owner, to the one who claimed. And if two or more people claim, he should refer to the mushrif for the decision after all attempts at compromise and understanding have failed. And if all of the group showed interest or do not present themselves for a compromise, then he will draw lots to determine the owner as a precaution. The lots will be drawn by a mujtahid or his wakil. So this is a very special case, but what is being shown here is that the haram and the halal, you must at some point deal with it. You can't say, well, mashallah, you should do that, so whatever. You must deal with it at some point, and you must be able to purify your money and purify your wealth, because it's a matter of your soul being affected. If I go and eat money, if I go and eat something from that money that has been gotten from illegitimate means, it means that then every single part of me that is developed by means of that illegitimate wealth is worthy of being burnt in the hellfire. And that is from the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him himself. That's a hadith from the Prophet, peace be upon him. He says, anyone who eats a morsel earned by illegitimate means, whatever part of his body is developed by that morsel is worthy of being burned in the hellfire. So that is one of the reasons why in the study of philosophy and these things, when you look at the hellfire is not concerned with just burning people. It is burning the bad parts that you have come with. The bad parts that you have developed over the years, whether it's in your soul or whether it's in your body, the hellfire just purifies that. You understand? It's like somebody putting chicken over a fire until all of the fat and everything burn out, and then you take it out. You're not concerned with just burning the meat. You're concerned with taking all the parts that you don't want to be eaten, that is not good for you. It's the same thing with the hellfire in Islam, the same concept with the hellfire. Next, khiyanat or khiyaniya. Treachery. Treachery may occur in regard to money or as a violation of trust. That you're greedy, somebody give you something, it becomes treacherous. They lose that trust because they're going after something that they shouldn't be going after. It may occur in regard to honor, power, or position. The opposite of treachery is trustworthiness, amana, which also applies to all things mentioned about treachery. That is one's property and possessions, which are divine trusts. So we see earlier when we were looking at miserliness, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is from a bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you from his bounties. You recognize that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounties, and you must use them with trustworthiness. The trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. It's not yours. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see what he'll do with this. All right, let me give him a 20,000 and see what he's gonna do with that. Let me give him a house. Let me give him beauty. Let me give him honor. Let me give him a position. Let me see what he'll do with that. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gave it to you. So you have to use it like a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take account for eventually. Any Holy Quran Surah Anfal, at 58 of Quran says, him, تَخَافَنَّ مِنْ قَوْمٍ خِيَانَةٍ. If you fear treachery from any group, فَأَنْبِذْ إِلَيْهِمْ عَلَى سَوَاءٍ, throw back to them their covenant. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْخَائِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love those who are treacherous. So if you feel that you have made an agreement or you have come to some sort of understanding with somebody and you fear that they're going to be treacherous, walk away from that contract. Walk away from that agreement. You understand? So that you can be on equal terms. It's فَأَنْبِذْ إِلَيْهِمْ عَلَى سَوَاءٍ. So I said, you don't put yourself at a disadvantage, basically, because they're not going to uphold their side of the treaty. So you don't put yourself at a disadvantage, trusting in them, and you're going to get sharp at the end of the day. Say, all right, forget about that. There you go, always, and you deal with whatever you got to deal with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like the treacherous. Next, when we spoke about the power of desire and the diseases of desire and passion, if you were to ask people what diseases they have of desire, of passion and desire, the first thing I might tell you is probably sexual diseases. But that's the first thing that comes to mind, but desire and passion and these things. But you'd realize that it's a very small part of the diseases. It's only one part of the diseases of desire. So here, promiscuity and extravagance. These include vicious practices of adultery, fornication, sodomy, intoxication. All of those things of your body that you are craving and earning in terms of the haram, that you don't care about the halal and haram anymore. You have become so engrossed and so full of greed and the passion has taken over you without any intellectual reins or control, that these things that are right, it's extravagance, it's that you go over the board. You're supposed to stay within the limits of marriage, now you're fornicating or you're committing adultery. You're supposed to stay within the limits of enjoyment, you're going to intoxicate yourself. These kind of things, it's like extravagance. All of which rise out of the power of passion and drag man down to the beastly mode of life. So you go below the animal level because you have intellect to tell you better, but you still go beyond that. You still go lower than that. So this is one of the vices that you would find. And one of the things that Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam had mentioned, one of the Imams, they mention about food. They say don't be greedy. When you're greedy, it increases like passion and sexual passion and these things, and you'll go after things that you're not supposed to go for. So you need to be careful of food, like how much food you eat. Right? You got a big belly and eating a lot of food, and after they just go out and try to do whatever they want to do. It's a part of your physique and your soul, also your spiritual self. I also want to ask you, you can run him. Wala taqrabu zina, and do not approach fornication. Don't go close to it. Here it says do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse. Taqrabu, it has to do with qaraba. It has to do with nearness. It says don't even go near to it. So even like you're talking to somebody in a certain way because they know it can lead to it. You're going in places where you're seeing certain things like people acting in certain ways because it can lead to it. Like parties and these things. People going and partying and grinding on each other. What do you expect to do after? Let's go man sleep? No. You know? It encourages a certain type of behavior and a certain mindset. So don't even go near to it. Wala taqrabu azina. Innahu kana fahisha. This is a severe and serious immorality. Wasa'a sabila. And it's an evil way. So don't even approach it. Don't go near it. Stay away from that. And then the last of the diseases is delving into obscene and haram matters. This has to do with the tongue. It's not necessarily having to do with going into places as much as, or is equally in terms of going to places that have haram and obscene things that would make you go close to zina and these kind of things, for example, as it is speaking in a certain way. So the advice consists of discussing unlawful and haram actions, because the moment you start talking about it, it means it's on your mind. When it's on your mind, you start talking about it, a lot you want to do it. Look at the music. I said that, hey, girl, come do this, come do that. And then when the young people listen to that now, they want to go and do it. When they're interacting with females or males, when they ask to interact with the opposite sex, the first thing they're thinking about is what the songs, the culture that has been pushed by the words of these people, which is vain talk, encouraging them to do. So now you want to do that. Hey, yeah, like do this thing, like, the way that the music says. Unlawful and harm actions, relishing in such talk and exchanging obscene jokes and stories, not befitting human dignity and station. Since the haram and obscene is of many kinds, delving into them can also be classified variously. So you have different classifications of it. One of the many forms this vice takes is delving into futile and frivolous matters, discussions which have no benefit whatsoever, either in this world or the next. Moreover, such talk involves wasting of one's time and is an obstacle to useful contemplation and thought. This is why the virtue of silence has been upheld in opposition to this vice. So, silence. Now, it's not talking about absolute silence here, right? It's not being uncommunicative where let's say, okay, I'm not going to talk anything. You're not Lady Miriam, okay? Is that you maintain silence in these matters. Right? You see somebody talking about foolishness, you don't jump in, hey, yeah, boy, you should have got a thing. Wait, nah. You just pull yourself out of the conversation and maintain a certain silence. So people know that you are somebody who you don't engage in that kind of talk, right? When it comes up, you don't engage, you're uncommunicative, you're silent. So somebody start that kind of talk with you, all right, actually, thing, mashallah, all right. You understand? You don't jump into it. Because sometimes I don't know, you hear people talking about, as one of the things in Islam, protecting people's honor. Protecting, in the Quran, it says, men are the maintainers and the protectors of women. It's not just physical, it's in terms of honor also. So you don't go out there and talk in your wife's business. Yeah, boy, hey, you know me. You know when talk, you understand? You hear brothers coming and talking about things that to do with the wife, and it's like, brother, Aki, salam alaikum, brother. All this, I'm talking about other women, the way that you speak, you should maintain a sort of silence in those matters. One should protect his tongue and ears from useless and nonsensical talk. In other words, one should be careful in speech, saying only things that are beneficial to both our worldly existence and the hereafter. Let's say, for example, you jump into that talk and you say something, and you give somebody an idea about somebody. And then they go and act upon that. You know how dangerous that is? You are the catalyst for that. That's why music is so dangerous, If somebody sings a song 10 years ago, that song is going to be played until people get fed up of it. And if they say something that influences people in a certain way, that's going to influence people for so long. All these singers and musicians who dying now, we cannot help them catching. It's not a sweet song that they're singing. Every time somebody repeats that song, that is it for them. So I have 20 million fans. People love my music. My concert is sold out. Madness. You don't even know the kind of hellfire. And imagine the kind of music that people singing now. A dread. So you're influencing people to do something, you yourself will get the effects of it. But every time that they do it based on your influence. Prophet peace be upon him says, blessed is he who is frugal in speech. You're not talking too much here, yes. You have a little bit of words. You're not like me, you don't talk too much. Right? You're not like me. You're talking less than that. I talk too much. Right? And is generous with regard to his possession. So here, if you look at this saying from the prophet peace be upon him, you ask yourself, well, okay, why is it that he's saying frugal in speech as well as generous in possession in the same hadith, in the same sentence? It doesn't seem like they're together. You might say, blessed is the person who doesn't spend the money wisely but the generous, because they have to do possessions. Most of them have to do charity and possessions. Or he might say, blessed is somebody who is frugal in speech and they don't lie. Why is that he paired these two together? Because he is speaking